So there's a resource called CoinMarketCap, and this is one of many that lists out the various cryptocurrencies or crypto tokens that are out there and available. But before I actually jump into a handful of those, I just want to set a few descriptions. So I assume that you're familiar as to what is a blockchain. If not, very briefly, a blockchain is none other than a public database where it holds data and transactions, which is very different from a bank or a corporation that holds its own database. This is a broader public database that is available to everyone to commit transactions, and it's one that cannot be changed, so it's immutable, and it's visible, and it's completely transparent as to who has actually committed those transactions. So that is the ultimate benefit, right? It really transcends the borders of any corporation, entity, or bank. So that's a blockchain. I've also made a mention that there are two different types of categories of which these cryptocurrencies fall under. It's proof of stake or either a proof of work. So proof of stake is really a consensus mechanisms for blockchains that select a handful of validators based on the number of coins that they hold and are willing to stake as collateral. You know, the blockchains, there's two participants in the value chain. There's the miners, so those people or individuals that mine brand new tokens into the network or into the blockchain, and the others actually validate the authenticity of those transactions before they actually get committed into the public ledger, which is the blockchain. So these are the two major actors in either of these proof of stake or proof of work. So proof of stake is pretty much, in my view, is quite discriminatory because anyone can pretty much mine new tokens under proof of stake. But in terms of who validate them, it's only a handful of individuals based on the amount of tokens that they themselves already hold, which is very discriminatory, and it's really an entirely different approach than, let's say, Bitcoin, which is a proof of work, which I'll explain in a moment. The only other benefit that they claim under proof of stake is somewhat reduces the need for energy-intensive mining. So that is proof of stake. Proof of work takes an entirely different approach. It relies on computational power to solve mathematical problems or complex puzzles. Therefore, the proof of stake relies on the economic value of the stake, whereas proof of work requires computational power to be able to verify those transactions and commit those transactions into the blockchain. So that's the two different types of categories under which these current cryptocurrencies fall under. So Bitcoin is the king of all cryptos. So Bitcoin is really peer-to-peer payments network, but is rapidly remerging itself as a global monetary system. So this is like an alternative to fiat money or currencies like the euro, the dollar, the yen, and that has the greatest amount of market capitalization. Ethereum is a blockchain. Really, it's an entirely different value proposition to Bitcoin. It's predominantly a technological token. And in fact, the rest of the tokens that you see underneath fall into what I call a technological tokens camp. It's not really monetary at all. It serves different types of technical purposes. So Ethereum is more like a smart contracts development blockchain. So it's like creating a handful of decentralized applications, for instance, loan payments or different types of decentralized finance applications, which is pretty much the main use case for Ethereum. And also Ethereum is very slow. It's like the base layer chain. It's really slow and really expensive in terms of transactions. So whenever you commit new dApps, new decentralized applications to the chain or run through transactions, it really is expensive. But nonetheless, it's very popular. It's almost half a trillion market cap. So it's not a small. And both of the Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have already registered ETFs in the US market and also in Hong Kong, I believe, and in Australia. And there's other rollouts of both of those spot ETFs into the other countries. So these are the only two, you can say, tokens, crypto tokens, that are officially approved. The only two that are legitimized crypto tokens out there available. The rest aren't. Tether is an example of a stable coin. So what is a stable coin? It's really meant to be a cryptocurrency a version of US dollar or a euro, and it's typically pegged to that currency. It's just a digital version of that currency on the blockchain. That's pretty much it. You've got BNB, which is like a separate blockchain. It's not to be confused with Binance, which is a centralized exchange. So the centralized exchange are used like a front office for trading and swapping different crypto tokens between different parties, whether it's individuals or banks or so on. And you pay a handful of fees for making those swaps. You've got Solana, which again is another blockchain, similar to Ethereum in that it's used for developing decentralized applications. So it's a smart contract blockchain. It's an alternative to Ethereum. Solana uses, I believe, different programming languages. It uses Rust as a major programming language, whereas Ethereum, it uses what it calls Solidity. But both of these blockchains, they serve a similar purpose. Solana claims to be more efficient, has faster speed for processing transactions in comparison to Ethereum. And both of these, Ethereum and Solana, they're level 1, what they call level 1 chains. USDC is another example of a stable coin similar to Tether. You have XRP, which it's like yet another currency exchange token. This is pretty much becoming rapidly dying out as a dead token, as the majority, as you see underneath, as far as I can see, are falling to zero. I've mentioned a few others. Toncoin is another network currency and is used again as staking within a proof of stake regime. So be wary about that. And you have Dogecoin. Dogecoin is quite well known. It's like the first meme coin. It started out as a payment system as a joke. So it's like making fun of the wild speculation in cryptocurrencies. This is the thing that we have to be very, very careful. Most of these tokens are started out as a pranks, as a hoax, as a sort of fun. But, really not meant to be served as an asset in terms of holding it as an investment. So Dogecoin, as with many, many meme coins, they really are, trivial, fun, arty-like coins, just speculative. You have Cardano, which is another blockchain under a proof of stake consensus regime. Again, as with other major blockchains, it's meant to serve as a peer-to-peer transactions, and it uses internal cryptocurrency, which is called ADA. Avalanche is another smart contracts platform, and it's again faster. It's what is called as a layer 2 chain on top of Ethereum network. So it's very similar and it's compatible with Ethereum blockchain. The idea behind these layer 2 blockchains is it's meant to be faster for processing transactions and cheaper in terms of transaction fees than Ethereum. So you have a whole bunch of layer 2s that sit on top of Ethereum, which is a layer 1 base layer. So Avalanche is an example of a layer 2 on Ethereum. You've got Polygon, and there's another one called Multichain, which I think is underneath. Those are examples of layer 2 blockchains that are built on top of Ethereum as a base chain. Polkadot up here, which enables cross-blockchain transfers of any type of data or asset, not just tokens. So it's quite different in that sense. The rest of the tokens are pretty much just tokens, but this really attempts to cover different types of tokenized assets, which makes it kind of different and unique in comparison to the rest of the cryptocurrencies listed out here. Chainlink is a decentralized blockchain oracle. So particularly for the smart contracts blockchains like Ethereum or Solana, in order to make it more real world, you need to be able to feed in some real life data via an oracle, like what's the price for these tokens out there in the real world. But within the blockchain, it doesn't have that information. Therefore, you need to rely on those data feeds through an oracle. So Chainlink is an example of such an oracle. So these oracles, in my view, do serve a genuine purpose within the blockchain ecosystem. Chainlink is one of the leaders out there, oracles providers out there in the blockchain world. So this one is something that, particularly those that are keen on developing smart contracts on blockchain, that Chainlink is one of the leaders, providers out there in terms of oracle data feeds. Bitcoin Cash was like another failed attempt to replace Bitcoin or to deviate from Bitcoin. It's denominated as a fork of Bitcoin. This was a failed attempt, and you can see that it's really dwindling down in terms of price. So it was created back in 2017, but is yet another failed attempt to replace the main Bitcoin network, which is at the first asset at the very top. Uniswap is like another decentralized cryptocurrency exchange. It's a platform for trading and swapping different types of crypto tokens with one another. So this is yet another crypto exchange that is built predominantly under the Ethereum or any other Ethereum compatible blockchain. It is also a protocol used in DeFi, the decentralized finance applications, enabling these token swaps. We have finally DAI, which is another stable coin. We have Litecoin, which is another decentralized peer-to-peer cryptocurrency. It's inspired by Bitcoin, and Litecoin was amongst the earliest of all of the alternative coins to Bitcoin, starting out as far back as October 2011. So this was like the very first alternative or altcoin that came out into the blockchain domain. And then Pepe was another deflationary meme coin launched on the Ethereum network. Again, it's really, as you can see, the price is going down to zero virtually and is rapidly becoming a dead token. So that's pretty much it. So hopefully, going through this list, I've given you a quick overview of the various types of cryptocurrencies out there. You've got to be very wary and mindful that the majority of these tokens are started out as a venture-like token, either making a joke or just have some fun. So you've got to be cautious about selecting the right token that fits your financial needs. So you need to continue to do those research. But for me, if I were to focus on what are the main ones, I would, in terms of investment, definitely Bitcoin, because I'm a hodler of Bitcoin. Ethereum and or Solana are interesting tokens to investigate and even invest because there are smart contracts blockchains. So it's a completely different and separate value proposition to Bitcoin, which is purely monetary. And maybe like Chainlink, which I've shown out here. If you want to build out smart contracts on the Ethereum or Solana, then you need an Oracle data feed to feed in some real life data into those smart contracts. So maybe the likes of Chainlink could be another option there. And if you're looking for a faster speed or layer 2 chain that sits on top of Ethereum, maybe Polygon or Avalanche, which I've shown earlier on the list, could be another interesting alternative to using Ethereum, purely because it's a faster transaction speed blockchain, and in terms of transaction fees, it's much more cost efficient than Ethereum. And finally, Polkadot. If you're looking at developing, kind of real world tokenized assets other than tokens themselves, maybe Polkadot is completely separate and unique in that sense. So maybe it's worth investigating Polkadot. So these are the ones that I would suggest looking into, and maybe just discard the rest of these tokens because, like I said, they're very confusing. They're mostly venture out assets, and they tend to die into the water very, very quickly. Highly speculative and definitely not worth taking any of it seriously. So hopefully you found this episode useful. If you have, please do hit the like button. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel, as I regularly publish some videos could be of interest to you investors out there. So that's it for today's episode. Until next time.